Welcome back to another video, and today, as you might have read by the title, we're going to be talking about the work of 4 different contemporary photographers. And for this episode I selected different photographers, extremely talented, and I've come across this work or their work in the last few months, and I thought it was interesting to sort of like pick up different works, contemporary works, relevant voices, and talk to you about them. And so today we're going to be seeing incredible talent, and this comes in forms of like different portraits of femininity, work that reflects on race and culture, but also like work that reflects on the violence of the streets. So we have really different concepts, loads of work to show you, loads to talk about. So why don't you just grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and without further ado, let's just go straight to another video. So Boogie's real name is Vladimir Mijevojević, and he is originally from Belgrade in Serbia, and it's interesting to share with you that Boogie actually comes from a family of amateur photographers. So he grew up surrounded by cameras and by work of different photographers, and it's also safe to assume that perhaps his father or grandfather had some influence or were responsible for guiding Boogie's first step in the world of photography. However, it was Serbia's civil war during the 90s that really pushed the photographer into taking it more seriously, and in a way helped him finding his subject and vision, which in this case can be summarized as a vision over the darker, lesser known side of street life. But in this case, Boogie's photography is not just about having another vision over street life and over street photography on its own. I think it's about like when we look at his photos and we see this up and closer look and these different angles, the way he works visually and psychologically, the surroundings of what he photographs transmits a lot of power to the photo. And I think that in my personal experience, when I look at his photos, I can definitely feel as a viewer the sort of pain, the anger, the violence, and what fuels his subjects and the life that they live. And it's not necessarily a negative portrayal, but it's also not a positive portrayal. And I like that there's a sort of neutral approach to this photography because it is realistic. And I think this is very important. And also, and probably this is my personal opinion, but I feel like there's this sort of focus on the personal tragedy rather than just like go around and do portrayals of violence, addiction, organized crime and all that. And I think this is probably what distinguishes his photography from other photographers and other photos that surround the same subject or the same atmosphere. My work addresses themes of race, culture, family, and legacy, and these images are a kind of family album filled with friends and family, birthdays, vacations, and everyday life. At the same time, these images tell you more than my family story. They're a window onto the Black American experience. As I document my son, I am interested in examining his childhood and the world he navigates. At the same time, these images show my own unspoken anxiety and fragility as it pertains to the well-being of my son and fatherhood. At times, I worry if he'll be okay as he goes to school or as he plays outside with his friends as children do. These feelings are enhanced due to the realities of growing up Black in America. He can't live a carefree childhood as he deserves. There is a weight that comes with his Blackness, a weight that he is not ready to bear. So it's my job to bear this weight as I am accustomed to the sorrows and responsibility it brings. The weight of injustice, prejudice, and racism that has been around in our society and institutional systems for hundreds of years. I help him through this journey of childhood as I hope one day this weight will be lifted from him. And these were the words of Rashid Taylor himself, and I decided to quote him on his work because I think it's a really beautiful way of putting his work. And for you who's watching and might not be familiar with his work, I think it's a good way of introducing you to his work. And not just his current series, and obviously this quote or what I just quoted is regarding to his current series, which is centered on his son and the child of his son. However, for me, there are a couple of keywords there, which is regarding race, culture, and I think this is very important in the sense that it also these are also key themes and ideas that reflect other bodies of work that Rashid Taylor worked on over the years. And for me, I think it is also important to stop us here and reflect on how important photography will always be as an art form in the art world, but also outside of it. Because photography has the ability to capture what is seen, but also what is unseen. And for me, this is important because when we look at Rashad Taylor's work, for instance, we can see that there's a subject, definitely, that there's what the scene world is, like if it's a portrait, what is there, etc. But we have a glimpse at the feelings, the emotions, the weight of an heritage of having to carry and deal with difference in this case, or being treated differently. And I think this is, in a way, very powerful and something that honestly made me look at Rashad Taylor's work and know exactly what he was talking about without even knowing or, seeing a lot of his work. I looked at one photo and I knew exactly what this was about. And I think it's such an important feat as a photographer to have this concise vision and like what you want to say with your photography. Ashleyrmitage brings to the table a different vision over femininity, over womanhood, over self-discovery and identity. And I think one of the smartest things about her photography, and that struck me at first, is precisely the way she takes cliché images and cliché behaviors associated with women, such as girls always talking on the phone, girls doing makeup, and turns them into something unique by adding ideas of body positivity, such as having those girls embracing their bodies no matter how they look, having girls with pubic or armpit hair or with period-stained underwear. And these details add normality and truthfulness to what it is to be a woman in a way that is non-romanticized, non-idealized, and not desired by men. And even though I just gave you my perspective, I'd like to quote Ashley on the reasons behind her vision. As a teenager, everywhere I looked, teenage girls were either stereotyped or objectified. I couldn't relate to any of the imagery I saw, so I started to create my own images of what my girlhood was and is like. I wanted to reclaim these images as my own, and also wanted to produce work that other girls who are growing up can look to and maybe not feel as pressured to be, act, or look one way. And if you've watched the video until now, and you've been paying attention to obviously all the things I've been saying, all the works that I've been showcasing, you've realized that every photographer has their work has sort of like a sort of importance or casted a light on a different social issue or a problem or something like a theme or an idea that is important, socially speaking. And I think this is because even though I do talk about in a channel of course, having your own creative, approach and having your own artistic voice, I think it's also important that there's a different side to realize and to say that there's a different side to photography. And that is, of course, its rich history in terms of its social importance. Because photography does show a lot of things and has commented and has forced change, and it has contributed so much for our growth as a society and as human beings. And I think the way we should look at photography, of course, being an art and etc., but it should be you do you. And I think if you're into a sort of more social photography, a more like socially conscientious photography, I think that you're definitely doing one of the best things that there is, and that is using your voice to create change, and hopefully a positive change. And so we started this video with a street photographer, and of course we're gonna end this video with another street photographer. However, the photography of Daniel Arnold has a lot to be said about because it's really, really interesting. He's a photographer who is based in New York City, even though he's not actually from there. And he describes his relationship with the city as a sort of an obsessive one, in the sense that he always tries to find more, there's always things happening, and so he focuses on finding the hidden beauty of the everyday life. And so of course his photography does showcase the importance of one of the ideas that I've forever been repeating in the channel, which is the importance of focusing or photographing or documenting the everyday life. For me, there's a hint of mystery in his photos because there's always an element there that brings forward a question of what are the subjects looking at or interacting with, what are the off-screen elements that are interacting with them and are not being shown. Or for instance, the way he composes around people and the human figure itself, which gives it more depth than just it being a beautiful moment in time. And through the photography of Daniel Arnold, we see how important it is to capture the everyday life and to place a value in everything. After all, the value of a situation, a person, an event is determined by our feelings and our eyes. And I believe because Arnold is so focused on seeing and finding that hidden beauty, he is most definitely finding it. Because with his photos, we feel a certain amazement for humanity and people, and as the photographer puts it, it's not about unmasking an individual but representing, in a larger way, the oddness of going through the world. And so you're more than welcome to check his work, and I'll be leaving links to his and all the other photographers, their work, their social media profiles, interviews, and other things that I found relevant and interesting that can give you a further glimpse into their work, not just the video. And yeah, if you're interested, go check the links down below. Also down below will be links as to my work, how to support the channel, and of course my prints, which are now live on my website, so if you're interested, it would help massively. And yeah, I would like to thank you so much for watching, for supporting my work, for supporting the channel, and I'll see you here for another video very soon, so stay safe, keep shooting film, subscribe for a cookie, peace.